Hey everybody, what's up? It's JD here with the second video on Star Wars Battlefront 2 at EA Play. In this video, I'm just going to be going over everything I managed to pick out from the gameplay we saw yesterday on feed. I basically just sat down in front of my PC and just made a list of everything I could see that I thought was worth pointing out. The gameplay answered a lot of my questions about the new game, but at the same time it also brought up a few more. So I'm going to be adding in a few of my own thoughts in there too. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. First of all, the visuals in this game are absolutely gorgeous, as you'd expect. I mean, look at the previous game. It's from DICE. Previous game looked stunning as well. This game actually looks a little bit better, if you ask me. And you see the droids and the clones, they look so amazing here. They look better than they probably do in the movies. In the prequel trilogy, which came out, 10 years ago or so now, the CGI has dated a little bit. But they look absolutely stunning here in this game. They look probably better than they do in those three movies. So that's a real testimony to what DICE have done here. And it just looks great. And it actually kind of makes me want to see what they'll do if we could get some of the, Clone Wars or Rebels content in this, so the animated series, and sort of translate that onto the game in a more realistic way. I just look forward to seeing if they actually do that in any way. Classes wise, we've got a return to classes now. So we've got 4 different classes available for both sides. You've got the assault class, you've got the heavy class, you've got the officer class, and you've got the specialist class. And you can earn battle points in the game, either by getting assists, by getting kills, by playing the objective. And then you can use these to buy different heroes, you can buy special units, these are called reinforcements. You can have these like super battle droids for CIS, jump troopers for Republic, or you can choose to spend your battle points in different ways by buying different vehicles. On the CIS side, they've got vulture droids, they've got AATs, they've got troop transports, and the Republic have N1 Naboo starfighters, V-wing bombers, or AT-RT walkers. So basically, they've completely done away with the tokens from the previous game, which I know a lot of people were not fans of, because that was more of an arcadey sort of thing. They wanted it to be a bit more like Battlefield, and that's pretty much what they've done here. So they've got rid of the tokens, and now if you want to pilot a vehicle, if you want to play as a hero, you no longer have to camp out and try and find the token. It's not just going to go to any random player that finds the token. You're going to have to actually get your battle points by getting kills and by playing the objective, and then you can choose to actually either save up your battle points to play as a hero, or to spend them tactically and get a vehicle to maybe help out your team, or to play as a special unit and get more battle points so then you can play as a hero later on. So it's encouraging more tactical play with these special units and with the heroes, which I think is a really good addition. Oh, also, yeah, the B2 Super Battle Droids do have wrist rockets, so remember to watch out for them. Always watch out for wrist rockets, everybody. First rule of Star Wars Battlefront, you gotta watch out for wrist rockets, okay? There's also a legit mini-map instead of just a sensor, which is a nice addition. So you can actually see where you're going around the map, so you can see where the different buildings are. You can see where the enemy are instead of just having the sensor, so that's a good addition as well. Also confirmed is that combat rolls are going to be back in the game, more like they were in the original Pandemic game, so you can now actually roll forwards instead of just side to side. They were a bit crap in the last game. I mean, it got to the point where everyone was just spamming combat rolls from side to side, and it just made things really annoying. The actual animation now looks really nice. I saw it in some of the live stream gameplay last night, so that looked pretty decent, and I'm glad those are back. On to heroes. There are 4 playable heroes as of yet at the moment we've seen. There's Darth Maul, there's Rey, there's Boba Fett, and there's Han Solo. So heroes are significantly weaker in this game compared to the first Battlefront. This is kind of likely to compensate for the new hero mechanic, which allows multiple heroes to be on the battlefield at once. All 4 heroes have new abilities. So Maul, he can force choke, he can perform a spin attack, or he can use his furious throw, which is just a saber throw, except it's more of a vertical throw than a horizontal throw. I know in the previous Battlefront, only Vader could use a saber throw, and his was more of a horizontally sort of thing. So it'd spin around like almost like a helicopter blade, whereas this is just a vertical sort of thing. I think it'd be kind of cool if he had the horizontal one, so it'd be a bit like Savage Opress in the Clone Wars, where he'd throw it out and it'd just be like a helicopter blade spinning around. And that's pretty sweet. But either way, it's pretty cool anyway. We got to see a bit of that in the trailer. That's pretty cool. Rey has 3 new abilities as well. She's got a dash strike, she's got a Jedi mind trick, and she's got insight. I saw insight in some of the gameplay. That pretty much looks like it works like Bosk's thermal vision in the previous game, so you can use it to see around corners to like mark up where your enemies are. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty useful ability to use. I saw Han Solo now has a proximity bomb, so that's now in there. He's still got his rapid fire DL-44 ability, and he's still got the shoulder charge as well. So 2 abilities there we've seen in the previous game, so that does kind of make you think they would carry some more of the heroes over from the previous game, use the same abilities, and put them in this game as well. Boba Fett's lost his flamethrower. Makes sense, I suppose, if Django's going to be in the game. We saw Django in the films use the flamethrower, we didn't see Boba use the flamethrower. So yeah, it makes sense if Django's going to have the flamethrower. There's no sense in having both of them with the same abilities, so that makes sense. We also saw hero abilities can also affect other heroes, so at one point in the gameplay I actually saw Maul choke Rey and throw her to the side. That's pretty sweet, so it looks like we can actually chain these abilities together to take down other heroes. Again, that sort of plays in the fact that heroes are a bit weaker, a bit easier to take down, so I'm sure we'll get some good hero versus hero combat. It also looks like Rey has a force jump sort of ability. I don't know if this is going to be like a universal Jedi power, but I don't think Maul has it, so I'm not sure. Maybe it's not just the Force wielder thing, maybe just certain units have it. But it looked like Rey could jump a lot higher than the other hero units, so that obviously comes into play as well there. So maybe we'd see like Obi-Wan or Anakin have that if they're in the game, maybe. So yeah, that's another neat little ability there for Rey. At the moment, the heroes are all from mixed eras, which I've seen a lot of people freaking out about. Like, we don't want to see mixed era heroes in Conquest or Walker Assault or whatever for the different eras, so you don't really want to see clones and droids and then have Rey running around chopping down B1 battle droids, which I understand, that makes sense. You'd want to sort of have the right heroes for the right era. I don't believe it's going to stay this way. I personally think that this is just to showcase the heroes they have finished. You've got to remember the game's still in production, so they're probably only just showing off what they're ready to show off. We've seen screenshots with Yoda in, and Yoda wasn't in any of the gameplay for Assault and Feed, so you can only assume that these are the 4 heroes that are ready to be shown to the public. So I'm fairly certain mixed era heroes will probably come into play in a hero game mode, like Heroes and Villains, Hero Hunt or something like that, so that would make sense. But I think for the most of the main game modes, we'll probably get the right heroes for the right eras, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I also noticed that heroes deal a lot less damage to normal infantry. I saw some units take like 2 or 3 strikes from Maul's lightsaber before going down. I think that kind of could depend on which kind of infantry you're going up against. Maybe just like the normal infantry units will go down in like 1 or 2 strikes, or the heavy, maybe who's got bigger armor, will go down in 3 or 4 strikes maybe. So I think that might play into it a little bit. But it did kind of remind me, in a sort of a bad way, of how in The Force Unleashed, especially in The Force Unleashed 2, where Starkiller has the 2 lightsabers, and he'd hit the Stormtroopers and he'd take about 7 hits to take down 1 Stormtrooper. It was like he's swinging baseball bats. He's not swinging lightsabers, they're just battering these Stormtroopers, and then on the final strike maybe you'll actually go cut off an arm or something. I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as that or overblown as that, but 2 or 3 strikes to take down a trooper is more than enough. So, you know, I want to keep it quite realistic at the same time as quite fun. So, another thing I noticed is the lightsaber combat has been slightly improved. I suppose it's still just a couple of basic attacks, but for the most part you can now string together a series of more acrobatic attacks, maybe as Darth Maul, or a series of different strikes with a few 12s in there for Rey. It's not just going to be like the crappy, very basic lunging moves we got in Star Wars Battlefront 1. I think they could probably do a little bit more work on it, make it a bit more like Jedi Academy, where you can just link the different moves together in different combos and then implement your force powers as well, but that's probably not the level of detail or focus on saber combat they're going for in this game. So, I mean, that's fair enough, to be fair. I'm quite happy with what we've seen so far. There's just a nice flow. As long as there's a nice flow from each attack, I'm not really too fussed, and it looks like they've pretty much nailed that at this point. One thing they have taken a leaf out of the Jedi Knight series' book here is that you can now actually leave scorch marks on the walls using lightsabers. I noticed this in some of the gameplay from the other day. That's just badass. I just love the fact that that's there. That's like really nice to be able to see. You can like leave a scorch mark on the wall. It's also realistic. I mean, okay, it doesn't just look cool, but it is realistic as well when you consider how hot lightsabers are. We see it in the movies, so why not in the game? So I'm happy that's in there too. I need to talk a little bit about weapon mechanics. They're pretty much the same from what I can see. Cooldowns are still in the game. The cooldown system looks pretty much the same as it was in the previous game. It looks a little different because I've noticed there's now some green and yellow bars. I'm kind of guessing on what these mean. I think the green bar is kind of like an instant cooldown effect, like in the previous thing where you had a mini game and you have to try and get it in within a certain section to be able to instantly cool down, otherwise it'll just jam your weapon and you can't use it. I think they probably got rid of the jamming thing, so I didn't see any of that in the gameplay. I think if you hit it in the yellow bar, I think it's just a slightly slower cooldown effect. I like that idea. I think that's better because, I mean, there's so many occasions where last time out I tried to actually cool down my weapon, I'd end up jamming it and end up dying. So that makes sense. I like that. That's a good addition as well. Nothing wrong with that. I did notice in terms of abilities, personal shields are gone, really. They've got rid of personal shields, which I'm not going to complain about. Okay, they're pretty useful when you're using them, but they're also pretty annoying when you're against them. These have been replaced with sort of like a riot shield sort of thing. They're not droid shields anymore. They're more like just a riot shield that will protect the front of the player. So the back of the player is still exposed, so you can still flank them, you can still take them out. Use it more tactically in certain situations, I think. I've also heard a lot of people talking about the voices for the clones and the droids. There was a lot of concern over which voices they'd have. I know the battle droids, everyone wanted to have the Phantom Menace voices, where they're a little bit more serious, seem more like just killing machines, as opposed to like in Revenge of the Sith when they have the really goofy voices. They've gone for the voices from Star Wars The Clone Wars. So these are still slightly goofy. I know some people are going to have a little bit of an issue with that because they wanted the Phantom Menace voices. I've got no personal real preference there. The Super Battle Droids, they've got the deeper voices, that's cool. I've got nothing against just the Clone Wars voices, really. Also, the clones are voiced by D. Bradley Baker, I think it is, who's the same guy from Star Wars The Clone Wars. So he's in there, he'll probably be voicing all the clones. If there's any clone heroes, I don't know if there will be at this point, probably not unless we get DLC. He'll probably voice them as well. I know Boba Fett is going to be voiced by Tamira Morrison again. It did kind of sound like they carried over some of Boba's lines from the previous game, but I do think I heard a couple of new lines in there too, so I assume he has come back and recorded some new stuff. Hopefully he's recorded some stuff for Jango as well as just for Boba. Here's hoping Jango's in the game. Be one of my favourite characters in Star Wars, so I'm really hoping he's in. Darth Maul. Darth Maul is voiced by Sam Witwer from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. He's done some very badass lines from what I can hear there. He's actually done his own little version of the "At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi" bit that we got from Phantom Menace. Some very badass lines there, so that's cool. Another thing I did notice was that the different heroes have their own like respective theme songs. So Darth Maul, when he spawns, he has the Duel of the Fates opening, and Rey then has her theme from The Force Awakens. So that's a cool detail, and it does remind me of the original Star Wars Battlefront games whenever you'd spawn as a hero in Battlefront 2, and it'd play their own motif all the way through as you play as them. I don't know if it'll carry on all the way through the gameplay, but I did hear little bits of Duel of the Fates throughout the gameplay as Maul, so it's possible they have actually taken a leaf out of that book and they're going to be doing that again. And like I've said in the previous video, music is a really big part of Star Wars, and a lot of people underestimate its value. And the last game, it sort of messed up in that factor because there wasn't much music playing during the actual battles. You'd have the opening themes when the game starts, when the actual people spawn, when you spawn as a hero. It would play a bit of music, but then it would just fade away, and that was it. Yeah, so it looks like they brought music back in a big way for this game, which I'm really happy to see, because that is a big part of Star Wars. I just hope there's going to be like a nice balance between original music made for the game and then some of the classic music used by John Williams in the actual movies. One more thing before I forget, I didn't see any droid the cars in the gameplay at all, but that doesn't mean we're not going to see any in the finished game. It could be the same sort of story as with the different heroes like Yoda. They probably didn't show them because they're not ready maybe, or maybe they're not available on this map, which kind of wouldn't make sense really because they did have a big presence in the Phantom Menace. So it's possible we will see droid cars in the final game, just they're not ready for display yet. It was confirmed in the live stream by John Boyega himself that Finn and Phasma will be playable heroes in the first lot of free content that's going to be coming to the game. That first lot of content's all going to be The Last Jedi inspired. So the new planet from The Last Jedi trailer, Crate, that's also going to be coming as part of that content. We've been told that all the heroes, all the maps, all the weapons and vehicles, they're all going to be free for all players. So there won't be any of that DLC, non-DLC segregation like in the previous game. That's great news because that was a real pain for a lot of players. It did split the fan base a lot in the previous game. I'm guessing they'll probably make up for that by having microtransactions for cosmetics instead. So maybe for 500 first skins for camo. Who knows, but that's just some ideas. Some of the higher-ups at EA must have been having an aneurysm just thinking about the thought of giving away free content. So fair play to DICE there. And this kind of got me thinking, because as the DLC is going to be organised by themes, the first theme's going to be The Last Jedi, so I'm kind of hyped to think about what this can mean for heroes and maps and weapons going forward. I mean, how badass would it be if you had maybe a Clone Wars themed expansion? You could have like a map set on Umbara or Christophsis, and then you could have like Rex or Ahsoka as heroes, and maybe Ventress and Cad Bane as villains. I don't know, I'm just spouting ideas at the moment, but there's so much potential to make this game the best it possibly could be, and let us all play across all the different forms of different Star Wars media there are. I quickly want to mention flying as well. From what I saw in the live stream and from the gameplay from various YouTubers, the flying gameplay looks so much better when using a keyboard and mouse now. This was one of my biggest problems with flying on PC in the game. I'd have to swap between using my mouse and keyboard when playing as infantry, so maybe if I was playing Supremacy or Walker Assault, I'd start off as the infantry and I'd have to use my board, and then I'd have to switch and use my Xbox controller, which I'd have to have plugged in, or, you know, connected wirelessly to be able to use that whenever I used the vehicle, which was really quite annoying, having to go back between the two as I played. It looks like vehicular combat and dogfighting in general just seems really solid in this game. So I'm looking forward to that aspect a hell of a lot more than I was in the previous game. Finally, the live stream also revealed that Skirmish will be back, which is going to allow for couch co-op again. Hopefully Skirmish has been refined a lot this year. It was so bare bones in the original game. I'd just like to see it offered for all maps, all game modes this time out. There's just so much content that I paid decent money for last time out, and that was locked behind multiplayer gameplay, which a lot of the time I just didn't feel like playing, to be honest with you. So here's hoping that Skirmish is back in a bigger capacity. We don't know to what capacity it's back, but I'm just hoping it's been refined and it's going to be offered for almost all the maps and all the game modes. Hopefully the DLC as well, but I don't want to push my luck on that. And that's pretty much everything I've found of note so far. If you think I've missed something that you is worth pointing out, go ahead and get a discussion going in the comment section below. Let me know what your thoughts on the gameplay reveal are, what your thoughts on the trailer are, and just your general thoughts on the game, if you're going to be pre-ordering or not, whatever. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers, bye.